Parents, as you know, our kids are growing up in a world that is far different from the one that you and I grew up in. Technology is a powerful tool that can be used in either good or bad ways depending on its user. So today I want to talk to you about ways that you can protect the emotional health of your kids when it comes to technology. Here we go. Okay, so first, while you may know this is a big deal and this is important, I want to touch on why it's so important and specifically point you to things that I think show why we need to be paying attention to this as parents. Since I've talked about this a couple of times before, I'm only going to spend the first part of this video talking about philosophically where we're at and why we're at this point and all that kind of stuff and why this matters so much. And actually I'll link where I've talked about this before in more depth so that you can go back after this and watch it later. If you're watching this on Facebook, go over to our YouTube channel to watch this video, and in this video description box on YouTube you can find all the links that I'm going to talk about in this video. It's just way easier than trying to link it out in Facebook. So I'm going to spend the first part of this video talking about that philosophically, where we're at, and then I'm going to spend the majority of this video actually giving you practical steps, things that you can do right now in order to implement some of these strategies in your own home. In case you weren't aware, there's a lot of mental and emotional health issues when it comes to adolescents and teenagers these days, especially as it pertains to the technology that they use on an everyday basis. If you don't believe me, take a look at this graph that shows the correlation between when smartphones entered the market and became common use, as well as when the rates of mental health and depression and anxiety and suicide started spiking. As you'll see, they both go up at the same time, which seems to indicate that a lot of this stems from the way our kids are using technology. So first off, like I said at the beginning, we're all raising our kids in a world that we didn't grow up in. With most every other aspect in life, you and I can look to the way our parents raised us, and we have kind of a model to go off of. Like when it comes to curfew, when it comes to hanging out with friends, when it comes to eating your dinner, you know, all those kinds of house rules, your parents raised you with those rules. And whether they were right or wrong, you at least had something, a model to look back to and recall when it comes to your own parenting. But unlike all that, we weren't raised right about technology to know how to raise right when it comes to technology. We don't have a model to look back to how our parents raised us with smartphones to know how to raise our own kids when it comes to smartphones. So that means we kind of need to deconstruct and break down how all of this is interpreted through the lens of an adolescent versus an adult. Primarily the fact that you and I, we view our online lives, our social media profiles, all that kind of stuff as an extension of our real lives. We don't put everything on there, most of us, but it does reflect the real us. Our kids, on the other hand, who have grown up with this technology, they have more interactions on there than they do in person, especially this last year. And so, if anything, this last year has amplified this effect that our kids view their real lives as an extension of their online lives, by and large, statistically speaking in generalities, as a whole. And as adults, we have fully developed brains to know how to handle a lot of the tensions that come with social media, or at least we know how we should handle them. And things that we would see as minor things when it comes to how we manage our technology, our kids don't pick up on those things. They're not minor things to them, and they're not even obvious common sense kind of things to them. So our goal as parents would be to raise our kids in such a way that by the time they are on their own, maybe graduating high school, starting college, moving out of the house, they know how to be responsible with technology and use it as a good tool rather than something that is an addictive part of their life that is skewing the way that they think in a dramatic way. You want them to be responsible with it, and therefore you want to create ways that you can add freedoms so that they can learn how to be responsible with it over time as they age. So that means a fifth grader probably does not have near the amount of freedoms that a senior in high school does. In fact, philosophically speaking, this is the last thing I'll say about this, you want your kids by the time they're seniors in high school to be able to have full freedom access of their phones so that you can have that senior year as a safety net where they're still living at home and you can help them learn how to use things and pick them back up when they make mistakes, and they're not just having all these freedoms for the first time once they start living on their own. And these things, when it comes to smartphones, should be a continuous conversation in your home with your kids, not a one-time thing. And again, links above and in the description so that you can have the big picture, bird's eye view, philosophically where we're coming from, so that we can all be on the same page and you can see why this is so important. Okay, now let's get to the meat of this. Let's get to the practical things that you can do starting right now in order to implement some of these strategies in your home. One, have a smartphone agreement or a technology contract that you have with your kids. When you give them new technology, or if you've given them technology and you need to backtrack a little bit, say, all right, hey, in an effort to be the best parent that I can be and be a good steward of the responsibility that God's given me in order to raise you and protect you and take care of you, I want us all to be on the same page so that there are no surprises for you when it comes to the way that we as parents are going to monitor your technology. This isn't your phone, this is our phone that we are paying for, that we are letting you use as you learn how to use technology with more freedoms as you grow. And what that means is we are going to routinely check things on your device. So don't feel like it's an invasion of privacy, because again, it's not yours, it's ours. And we will check those things. So you should just beware. We're going to see the things that you're seeing and what you're looking at, so use responsibly. That contract can be found below, linked in the description. You can print it off for yourself, make changes to it, and do what you need to do. Use it as a template so that you can have this kind of conversation with your kids, and anytime they violate the way that they use their technology, you can refer back to that and say, hey, remember, we agreed on this, you signed it, and this was the agreement if you're going to use that piece of technology. Secondly, lock down that app store. They don't have access to it without your permission. They can't download apps without you knowing about it. They have to get your password in order to download a new app on their device, and you get to approve that app. You get to fully vet it and find out what it's intended to be used for before they have it on their device. This will help you avoid all kinds of issues in the future when it comes to, wait, I didn't know that you were using that. What is that app used for? And you're playing catch up on learning what certain apps are used for because you find that your kids are using them. You get to take that proactive step and avoid that issue by pre-approving things before it's on their device. And also, there's a lot of apps out there that are used to spoof and trick parents. There are apps that are seemingly harmless, but in its actual usage, it actually hides other apps so that you as a parent can't see what else they have on their device. That can hide history, that can spoof GPS locations, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So lock down that app store before they are able to download something that is able to trick you or that you don't know what it's about. Thirdly, let's talk parental controls. This is a huge deal because it gives you the control of your child's device even if you don't have the device physically. Linked below, I've attached YouTube videos that explain how this works on an Android versus an iPhone, and you can watch the step-by-steps to how to set up the parental controls on your child's device no matter what OS they're using. You can determine how long your child gets to spend on particular apps each day. If you only want them on Snapchat for 20 minutes a day, you can make that happen and you can lock them out of it after those 20 minutes. They can ask for your permission and you have to put in your passcode to give them more permission. Going hand in hand with that, make sure to check regularly their screen time. Go into their settings and make it something routine that happens just so they know. If you see it seems like that they're on their phone a lot, say, hey, let me check your screen time, and you can see what they're doing. If you know that every time they're around you, they seem to be playing a certain game or on a certain social media, but you get on their screen time and you find out that they've been on a web browser for an hour and a half, you go, what are you spending so much time on that web browser for? You're not doing homework because you got your Chromebook there. And you can ask and know to ask certain detailed questions based on their screen time usage. This is really important for you to know so that you know what's going in their eyes and in their mind so you can know how you can best filter it out or have appropriate conversations as they come up. There are a lot of cool, really user-friendly features that you can figure out how to use on Apple or Android to know how to monitor your kids, and it doesn't have to be a scary thing. And again, I've linked videos below that are very short and brief and to the point. It can help anybody, even somebody who's technologically stunted, to know how to use these things and be able to parent the best of your ability. And the last practical thing I'll give you before I wrap this video up is an app called Life 360. This is a GPS location app, but it's also much more. If you got kids that are driving, it can monitor their driving speeds. It can have accident auto detection and send you notifications. You can set it up to do all kinds of things that are going to be really helpful for you. It can also help you know if they're breaking curfew, and even if you're not at home or if you're already asleep, and you can go back and you can be like, hey, shows last night you showed up an hour late for curfew. What up? And you can have those conversations because you know. Now, there are ways that kids can get around it and spoof their GPS, so I'm also attaching a video below so that you can know kind of what to watch out for and know how to stop that from happening so that your kids can't spoof you. There are many other things that you could do in order to monitor technology or to help protect the emotional health of your kids so they're not spending too much time on one thing and it hurts their health, mostly social media. Let's be honest, that's not good for any of us. I know plenty of adults in my adult circle of friends that are like, I'm taking a social media fast right now. We can, as adults, even see the importance of this, but it's even more so, I can't stress this enough, it's like 100 times more important for our kids that they have very limited time to social media. Even juniors and seniors in high school, they need limits on that kind of thing because it does have an effect on their emotional well-being. So again, there's lots of things that you can do, but hopefully this is a great starting point and some great practical steps that you can take in order to make sure that you're doing everything that you can as a parent to protect your kids when it comes to technology, while at the same time teaching them how to use things responsibly, using it as a tool that is mostly used for good rather than bad. Hopefully this gives you more confidence, gives you tangible next steps, and gives you more peace of mind when it comes to parenting your kids with technology. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions about any of these things, and I'll point you to some good resources or help you when it comes to navigating some of those difficult conversations. And again, we talked about this kind of stuff in a lot more detail in some other areas, so I've attached those videos again so you can go back and you can see those and see what we've talked about, see how technology has progressed, and see the kind of from a framework of the things you should be thinking about as a parent when it comes to all this kind of stuff, because I know it is vast. New technology comes out all the time, and so a lot of the stuff we've talked about before is very applicable no matter how advanced technology develops, because it breaks down to the foundational, where you should be coming from, things that you should be thinking about in broad strokes, as well as getting specific, like I mentioned in this video, about some things as well. So again, hopefully that's helpful for you. Hope you guys have a great, fantastic week. And if you need any more resources about emotional health and well-being of your kids, we've just wrapped up our series for 5th through 8th grade and for high school called Moods and Vibes, so that you can refer back to those, watch those with your kids, and have some of those conversations. I'll link those in this video as well. All right, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you this Sunday.